Vale.
Sí.
Yo, a ver, en ocasiones tú has dicho que, digamos, todo ocurre de una vez, o tienes o no tienes ego, o estás o no estás. Sin embargo, hay como una gradualidad en todo esto, ¿no? Mientras...
Se podría mejor decir, no que tienes o no tienes, se sabe o no se sabe que el ego existe, que el ego no existe.
Ok.
Ajá, ¿qué más?
Que no sé qué más, pues, qué voy a decir. Claro, de alguna manera lo sé con todo esto, con todo este tiempo, ¿no? Pero sigo igual, sigo con el ego. Es un saber intelectual quizás o es...
Pero no te quedes con eso. Sigo con el ego. ¿Quién sigue con el ego? El pensamiento sigo con el ego desaparece, el quién desaparece y ahí está, listo. Y he sacado la historia de si el ego existe o si no existe. Porque en ese estado ninguno de los dos pensamientos existe.
Hay un pero, ¿no? Pero...
Esa es simplemente el intelecto. Tratando de agarrar el conocimiento. Está tratando de comparar el conocimiento, el pensamiento que crea de que existe o que no existe, ¿ok? Con lo que se acaba de decir. Sí. Lo que escucha lo filtra por medio de su conocimiento, ¿ok? Necesita conocimiento para operar. El intelecto sin conocimiento, sin data, no puede funcionar. La idea es quitarle toda la data al intelecto. El intelecto ya no tiene trabajo que hacer, ¡pum!, se cae. El intelecto le pertenece al ego, ¡pum!, el ego se cae. Y ahí el
Sí,
estado,
todo...
y ahí está el samadhi, ¿sí? Donde no se ve diferencia entre sujeto y objeto.
Sí, todo arranca...
Entre el yo soy, esa noción de ser muy sutil, que no es un pensamiento, ¿sí? Y el mundo grueso, ¿sí? Porque son prácticamente lo mismo. Surge el yo o el yo soy, surge el mundo. Luego el yo soy se identifica con el cuerpo, piensa yo soy el cuerpo, aparece el ego. Y ahí aparece sujeto y objeto como diferentes, separados.
Sí, es que todo es claro. Todo
Si el ego,
arranca por un...
si el ego desaparece, inclusive para la vida diaria no hace falta el intelecto, porque el conocimiento llega directo. ¡Puf!
Mm,
Lo que haya que hacer, lo que haya que decir, no pasa filtrado, ni ya no hay filtro, ni nadie que lo filtre. Y después que
son como la...
y después que se dijo o se hizo algo, a menos que te lo recuerden, o a menos que necesites recordarlo para darle continuidad a una actividad, ¿verdad?
mm,
Si no, ni te acuerdas ni de lo que dijiste o hiciste de 3 segundos atrás. Pero que ya no importa.
sí, pero son sutilezas porque todo arranca con un querer, ¿verdad? Quiero deshacerme del ego y ahí empieza el error, empieza el problema.
Ese es el último deseo, ese es el último quiero.
Mm,
Ahí comienza la indagación. ¿Cuál ego? El ego es el que dice que quiere deshacerse del ego. El ego está tratando de hacer algo para deshacerse del ego. Uf. Por eso el sabio le hace la trampa al ego. ¿Cuál ego?
todo es simple, ¿no? Es realmente donde presta la atención y ya está. Pero lo demás, los pensamientos van a surgir siempre, porque bueno, es el trabajo de la mente.
Y después se sabe que lo que es la mente, ¿para qué preocuparse por ella? De todas maneras, ese pensamiento fútil, si se quiere, ya no opera. Simplemente un planteamiento claro, sencillo, práctico y desinteresado. Tengo que hacer esto, voy a el banco en la mañana, después la reunión con fulano, y no se espera absolutamente nada. No hay expectativa acerca del resultado de la acción, es la acción por la acción misma. Es la acción sin hacedor, ¿sí?
Mm.
Lo que se
Ahora,
llama,
ahí es donde yo hablo de
es
la,
lo que se llama, eso lo se llama no acción.
ahí es donde yo hablo de la gradualidad, porque efectivamente, eh, pues como que reacciono o no reacciono a algunas cosas de la cotidianidad.
Sí,
O,
lo que se llama gradual es la debilitación del ego. El ego se debilita gradualmente,
okay.
pero su desaparición, aunque sea temporalmente, no es gradual, es un solo golpe, o está o no está. O mejor dicho, se sabe que no es o no se sabe que no es. Lo que sí desaparece, ¿qué fue eso?
Mm.
Si el pensamiento, yo soy el cuerpo, desaparece, dónde está la persona? Porque la persona es eso.
Me- me-
Esa es la persona, mente, individuo, ego. ¿Sí? Es el pensamiento y yo soy el cuerpo.
Ahorita me decías eso y ya me surgió el cuándo va a hacer esto. Es así.
Claro, porque el ego, aparentemente yo un ego que disfruta, ¿sí? Cualquier experiencia y quiere disfrutar la experiencia de su propia ausencia. ¡Bú! O sea, el pensamiento yo soy el cuerpo quiere estar presente para saber que está ausente, pero es ese pensamiento
Mm.
es el yo soy el que pierde el ego, su egoísmo. Es esa conciencia relativa la que pierde su sentido de individualidad.
Eres un borrador de preguntas, porque tenía como una lista y ya se borraron.
Si borras la pregunta, el que pregunte también se borra. Queda la hoja en blanco. De ahí empieza a revelarse la luz que ilumina la hoja en blanco. La luz, el poder, mejor dicho. Ese yo soy, en esencia, es el absoluto. Recuerda, el absoluto manifiesta el cuerpo. El cuerpo no es consciente de nada, el cuerpo es simplemente inerte. El absoluto, ¡puf!, emana una luz, corre por unos canales, ¡rum!, llega al cuerpo, ¡fum!, y aparece el yo soy. Es a nivel del yo soy donde hay ego, no a nivel del absoluto como tal, ¿sí? No a nivel del absoluto como fuente, ¿me sigues? Como fuente,
Sí.
como reflejo. Ah, pero el reflejo, ¿quién es? Por eso es que algunos dicen, bueno, pero el absoluto a sí mismo se olvida de sí mismo. En esencia es un poder, como poder no sabe nada. Como poder, como fuente, como corriente, simplemente es. A una persona he escuchado yo nada más explicarlo así. Que es Carlitos. Pasamos un rato súper agradable, un tipo genial. Un loco de carretera. Él inclusive dice que el absoluto está más allá de la conciencia con ese, de la awareness. Yo no toco ese tema porque si no, pues lo complico más, pero él dice que la primera experiencia, lo primero que ve el absoluto es su luz. Él dice que eso es conciencia absoluta o awareness. Pero yo no me meto más allá porque si no, pues, ahí te enreda el papagayo más de uno, pero esa es mi experiencia. Lo primero que hay es la luz más brillante que te puedas imaginar. Automáticamente aparece la noción de ser. Y ahí comienza el proceso ese es el proceso. Ahí comienza la transición entre el sueño profundo y la vigilia. Nadie, o muy pocos, experimentan esa luz antes del proceso, ¿sí? Esa transición entre el yo soy al yo soy el cuerpo. Entonces está la oscuridad de los ojos cerrados y los sentidos todavía no se han activado todavía, solamente está el yo soy. Primero hay conciencia, ¿verdad? Un ser que es consciente ahí, ¿verdad? Aparentemente es un ser que es consciente, ni siquiera es un ser. Y luego hay conciencia de cuerpo y luego viene la identificación con el cuerpo. La idea es llegar a ese estado de no identificación. Por eso Ramana llamaba eso yo transicional y recomendaba un ejercicio inclusive a los devotos cuando se fueran a dormir, que mantuvieran una intención ahí muy sutil de que lo primero que iban a experimentar era esa transición del yo soy al yo soy el cuerpo. Y cuando se estuvieran despertando, tratarán de recordarse de su intención en la noche. Y como tratarán tratarán de sostenerla, ¿sí? De manera que en la mañana, él decía, eso les sirve como punto de referencia en el estado o del estado que deben mantener en la vigilia, que es el estado natural, libre de pensamientos. Porque de nuevo, el absoluto como fuente es más allá del estado con pensamientos libre de pensamientos.
En ocasiones me ocurre que empiezo a indagar y se arma como casi como una lucha mental de pensamientos. Y es la mente tratando de callar la mente, ¿no? Ya tú lo has dicho en otras ocasiones.
El
Cuando eso me ocurre,
conflicto de ideas. Ese de nuevo, el ego, por medio del pensamiento, este o el otro, es así o no es así, lo que dice fulano, lo que dice sutano, lo que dice fulano, lo que yo creo, lo que yo creo, lo que... Uy. Ahora, si uno deja eso en paz, ya empiezas a verlo, a atestiguarlo si se quiere. Y te ves que el testigo es solo eso. El yo soy en realidad es un testigo. Cuando desaparecen los pensamientos, sí, no hay nada que atestiguar porque los pensamientos desaparecen y el mundo no se percibe como diferente al testigo, entonces el testigo también desaparece.
Okay.
No es que desaparece porque desaparece, desaparece porque el absoluto se revela y lo absorbe. La idea de el testigo, ¿sí? Del que ve.
Mm.
Es el borrador absoluto.
Sí, es que cuando ocurre el que ve, cuando ocurre eso, ya no, ahí no hay debate, ¿no? Lo que hay es ver nada más, no hay otra.
Ver,
No hay,
exacto.
ver es ver, ver es ver.
La experiencia de ver es simplemente la experiencia de ser, el conocimiento de ser, la experiencia de ser, el conocimiento de ser. Como me dijo el señor Ratanal, seeing becomes simply being. Pero eso todavía es reflejo. Y luego viene una brisita, una brisa fresquita de adentro. Y lo disuelve todo, por lo menos temporalmente. Esa corriente, que es lo más sutil que hay. Por eso no puede haber un trazo de agitación mental, porque si no te distraes, ¿sí? Es lo que le explicaba a Ricardo, es mucho más sutil inclusive que que la pulsación, que ya de por sí es sutil. Y ahí queda uno encantado con eso. Y comparado con eso, no hay nada. Ahí lo puedes experimentar, inclusive puedes salir a comprarlo y comértelo, pero se sabe que no tiene nada de malo, ¿no? Se sabe que no importa cuán delicioso sea, ¿sí? La experiencia de ese objeto está sujeta a fin, a desaparecer. ¿Quieres comerte el chocolate más rico del mundo? Lindt, creo que es Lindt, ¿no? El chocolate belga o suizo.
No, aquí en la
Porque
Trinidad hacen unos chocolates fabulosos. Me gustan más.
fuiste tú el que nos los dio a probar en Caracas.
Creo que sí, 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 sí. Unos chocolates.
Sí, puedes comprarlo y tienes tiempo y cómo, bueno, te lo comes, pero es lo que te quiero decir. ¿Mm? Sabes que todo eso es transitorio y si lo tienes bien, si no también. Mm.
Como el agua.
Todo fenómeno, toda experiencia es transitorio, incluyendo el cuerpo por el cual tienes la experiencia. Y al final, el experimentador último es el absoluto. Pero tiene que crear, ¿sí?, a un ser, un yo soy. ¿Sí? No lo llaman mente, no sé, ya eso es cuestión de semántica. Yo me quedo con el yo soy, ya no quiero ni llamar nada así. Prefiero llamar al absoluto ya corriente, fuente, fue lo que es, al yo soy como yo soy, el cuerpo, el yo soy el cuerpo, pues así se pueden identificar más rápido con lo que se les dice, ¿no? Pueden asociarlo con su propio conocimiento directo ahora. Porque ahora todo el mundo sabe yo soy. Pero aparentemente el que sabe yo soy es el cuerpo. El yo soy y el cuerpo son inseparables, ¿sí? El sujeto y el objeto, si no son diferentes. Eso es samadhi, muy simple. La gente lo pone como una, oh, samadhi. Sí, la mente lo decora y lo mitifica y lo pone demasiado inalcanzable. Y todo el mundo lo experimenta en el estado libre de pensamiento, no se dan cuenta. Ese estado de, ay, perdón, sí, dígame, no estaba aquí, estaba distraído. Ahora estás distraído, en ese estado no estabas distraído. Sí, el estado natural pareciera que no fuera normal y el normal o natural es donde hay pensamiento. Una cuestión de costumbre. El hábito de creer que uno es el cuerpo y los pensamientos que le siguen a eso. Hábito, tendencia, ¿no? Vasana, como lo quieran llamar. Shan is doing Spanish homework. He's saying,
Ya.
I understand.
Bien, César. Clarísimo.
No, importante, mente, intelecto, no sirven para la vida diaria tal vez, con ego. Sin ego no hace falta ninguno de los dos.
Mm,
Es decir, no hace falta la mente como creencia, ¿sí? O las tendencias o nada, simplemente todo es directo. Es que aunque venga, aunque sea el ego, el pensamiento con ego o sin ego viene del mismo sitio. Y las acciones con ego o sin ego vienen del mismo sitio, porque hay una fuente única.
ujú.
Si hay ego, hay un experimentador individual, entonces está la felicidad y la frustración. Si no hay ego, pues... Inclusive la palabra bienaventuranza o ananda o nirvana ha sido traducida de manera errónea como felicidad, porque la felicidad tiene el opuesto de eh, infelicidad. No hay nada opuesto a la corriente, a la fuente, a la fuerza, al poder, como lo quiera llamar. No hay nada que se oponga, no tiene opuesto. Por eso dice que está más allá de los pares de opuestos. Bliss.
Tal cual.
Mal traducido como felicidad. De hecho, como prerequisitos, ¿sí? El buscador debe tener ciertos atributos, ¿sí? Que es estar contento, contentment, estar contento, estar tranquilo, desapasionado, calmo, etcétera. O sea que ya ese estar contento todavía es alguien que está contento todavía con lo que pasa o no pasa. Todavía eso le pertenece a la idea.
Claro, pero a
Esa es la
ver,
mente, esa es
esos
la
atributos,
mente, esa es la mente pura.
pero esos atributos no es que uno lo decide, eso ocurre, ¿no? Digo, ocurrirá.
Sí, al igual que la indagación. Ahí hay que tener cuidado con eso. Bueno, va a ocurrir solo, pero
Ajá.
la indagación también ocurre sola y no hay nadie realmente que indague. Por eso la indagación es acerca del alguien. El yo soy no es alguien, ¿verdad? Porque simplemente la naturaleza del yo soy es idéntica al absoluto, simplemente es. Cuando no llego, yo soy. ¿Yo soy qué? No sé. No soy alguien. ¿Sí? Es ese que no es alguien el que cuestiona la idea de que es alguien. ¿Sí? Tampoco hay nadie que se rinda. Si la rendición es de la idea de ser alguien, ahí es donde el intelecto se encuentra con la pared, ¿ves?
Sí.
Sí, no, por aquí no le llego. Y hasta cierto punto, si no es lo que yo digo, yo simbólicamente represento esa pared por donde nadie pasa. Pero por aquí no paso yo. De eso se trata, esa pared que dice, pum, ¿sí? Tú por aquí no pasas. O tú por o por lo menos por este medio, o por este mecanismo, no se puede. El intelecto todavía es más sutil que la mente, por eso es tan difícil también darse cuenta que uno está tratando de intelectualizar o razonar, porque es más sutil todavía que los pensamientos. El ego es más sutil que el intelecto. El yo soy es más sutil que el ego. La energía es más sutil que eso y el absoluto es súper, súper, súper sutil, por eso no. El intelecto crea el obstáculo, sí, por medio del conocimiento dice, pucha, más sutil, el otro es súper más sutil, y crea la limitación, no, ¿cuándo? ¿Cómo? ¿Eh? Algo más, me quedan 15 minutos, dale paso
Dale,
a
sí, no, listo, listo, ya. Ponchado. Pendiente, hablamos, gracias.
Dale.
¿Cómo estás, Cesar?
Muy bien, Mike. Good day, Mike.
No, she's American. You have to do a different accent.
Oh, Jesus.
Chicago, you could be gangster.
Really? Are you from US?
Yeah, I'm from Chicago.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Good.
Living down under.
Yeah. I was listening to a joke the other day, some Australian joking about the down under statement.
Oh.
Making the differentiation between the kiss, the French kiss and the Australian kiss. Somebody, what is the difference? It's like the French kiss, but down under. Sorry. Don't worry. You will not lose your holiness because of that. So it's okay.
Oh, that's funny.
Okay. What can I do for you?
Well, speaking of the body,
Oh,
I was
speaking
reading
of-
in I was reading in one of my books last night, The Creation of a New Body Through Consciousness.
Oh, Jesus, what?
What's that?
What for?
I don't know. Well, they were saying like these sages or yogis created a new body through the change of consciousness by reducing the body. And one of the sages or yogis succeeded, but two of them died. So I was
Right.
wondering, is it
The one that died succeeded.
because they got absorbed in consciousness, right?
See, don't miss. I don't know. I need to see what is the book and read the context and all that. Don't mistake a yogi for a jnani.
Okay.
The yogi is playing with the 5 elements and all that. In somehow there is ego. It's a sense of pride. It's a sense of achievement, a sense of betterness. And see, there is one famous called Babaji that is holding the body. Why are you holding? Who is holding on to what? Right? And what for? When enlightenment is no more bodies, right? That's the end of birth and death. Also, the whole things about fasting and feeding oneself is prana. All this is, even the word yoga is mistaken. All that came, the sages has been speaking about this for centuries, millennia. And then all that has been along the way by translations and misinterpretation, all that is lost. Right?
Mm.
This is why it is paramount to speak with somebody that knows firsthand what's going on, so you can have 100% true knowledge, right? So she, Ravana was a great yogi, right? He is a huge time devotee of Shiva. He represents the absolute, right? But he was asking for something, powers, right? And then so the absolute is a power, and Ravana was misusing that power for selfish purposes. That's all, right? Because the absolute is just a power. It's like a eternal yes, right? So what is it that you want, right? Now, if you don't want anything, right, then if you're out of the way, then that power knows better, right?
Mhm.
And Ravana represents the opposite, see, good and evil, right? Ravana was working for Dharma, the goodness, and Ravana for adharma or evilness. And there is eternal war between good and evil that never ends.
Yes.
Even though in the same story of Ramayana, the war between Rama and Ravana, right? Ravana kidnapped Rama's consort Sita and blah, blah, blah. And then Rama goes to the rescue of Sita. And then Ravana was famous because he could manifest 1,000 heads, great monster. And the inquiry is in that part of the story when Rama was throwing arrows and chopping heads and chopping heads and chopping heads, but he will chop up one head and another one will grow, another one will remove.
Mm.
And Rama says, this doesn't end like this. Then he throws an arrow to the heart, right?
Yep. Yeah.
So all the heads are the tendencies, right? Because Ravana, even when he was evil, he must have some goodness in him, right? So that represents symbolically, you don't kill the ego by removing tendency by tendency. See, you have to go to the heart. You have to remove the root, right? Of the root to bring it to the heart, to the self. And even when Ravana was agonizing, dying, he started praising Rama. How good warrior he was, and it was an honor to be defeated by him. So normally, the good warriors recognize the greatness of the enemy. So they go to the battlefield knowing that this guy is not a piece of cake. So. Then, to the surprise of everybody there, when Ravana passed away, he merged with Rama. Because his last, even it doesn't matter how evil he was, his last thought was Rama. And everybody was freaking out. Well, what's going on? He said, you killed the biggest monster, this is the biggest evil, and I merge it with you. So that's the whole point, right? To free oneself from this cycle of birth and death, right?
Mm.
Now, I will tell another story related to this, and then I will tell you about the body changes that people want to go through yogic efforts, and explain you what yoga is. Very key. so much to cut here. And then also was a story of Krishna. It was a guy who was the one that hated Krishna the most. And he was always as Krishna, stupid Krishna, rah, 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 always troubling him. And Krishna was holding a plate with fruits or something. And Krishna said, enough is enough, and threw the fruit away and used the plate like a disc and chop the head of this fellow. And again, to the surprise of everybody, okay, the soul of this fellow merged with Krishna. Say, oh, come on. He's the worst guy. And he said, well, this is better devoted than you, because he was thinking all the time about me. Right? So what is the meaning of yoga? Yoga means reunion, right? That's all, to reunite, right?
Yeah.
And the opposite concept of yoga is viyoga, means separation, or I am separate. See, I am in a state of viyoga. I feel I'm separate, and I want yoga, and I want reunion. Then I become a yogi, right? And by yogic means, none of it will work, right? Because they are either physical or mental, right? No, by any of them. Now, for the body, fantastic. Flexibility, circulation, that's great, no problem, right? The story says that Shiva himself created yoga, right? And developed the 108 asanas and all that stuff, and taught the rishis, etc. But remember that the rishis were basically all the time seated, okay? They become adept to samadhi, right? So everything can get dissolved, right? Because the ego may collapse temporarily, but still there is some tendencies alive, some beliefs, some desires, like having another body, create a better world, altered state of consciousness, and all that. It will come back, and the ego will rise back in a different shape. So apparently, it was taught to these people you need a healthy body. You need a body that is in good condition, so you don't have to worry about the body while you are doing your inquiry or whatever, right? So all that along the way was distorted, and they presented yoga as a means of enlightenment, and they presented the awakening of Kundalini as enlightenment. It's not. Kundalini still is arises from the absolute, so it still is it's not the absolute. It is the absolute because it's not separate, but it's not the experience of Kundalini is not. Some people believe that it is true that people believe that arises from the root chakra and then it reaches here and unites. You somehow goes and no. It arises from the heart. See, from the heart, then goes down and up. And when it goes here, there is a U-turn here, right? And eventually emerges back into the heart. All what everybody wants to attain by the means of effort, yogic efforts or whatever it is, happens by itself if you use bag at all, right? For example, when the mind keeps quiet, okay, when apparently I am quiet, Cesar, right? In the same place, apparently it is felt there, but it's not there. It cannot be limited to any place or inside the body and all that, but somehow it reveals itself there, somewhere at the right side of the chest. Even in the Ayurveda books, the absolute is located somehow there, or presented there. So, Kundalini in the form of Shiva, in a destructive mood, because it's that energy creates, sustains, and destroys, right? And the absolute is beyond that. So that energy, actually the fact that somebody is a seeker is because that energy is already working in a destructive mood, right? It creates not only matter, sustain matter, and transform, better to say, than destroy matter. It cannot be destroyed, only transformed because it's energy. It also creates the ego, sustains the ego, and destroys the ego. right? It's an undifferentiated power, whatever. Then the fact that a person becomes a seeker is because that energy already went into that mood, into that cycle, right? The first modification of that energy is light. It's the purest form of energy, light. That's the first thing that arises from the self, light, right? That's the first modification, right? And then the so-called vitris, and then it goes into a pulsation, then pulsation goes into the brain, and then the other modification is the I am, and then the I am comes the ego, and then the intellect, all this is modification. If you suffer modification, right, it's an illusion, isn't it? If it changes, suffer modification. So all that is related to the illusion. So it's the illusory power that begins with light and ends with more gross form, right? The light is more subtle than form. So when the mind keeps quiet, and apparently I'm quiet. So at the right side of the chest, it's called aham spurana. See, aham means I am, right? So still is I am, still is a, right? It's a pulsation. This is that energy, call it Kundalini, Shakti, whatever you like to call it, that is already it's dissolving, right? The content of the mind. When the mind is pure, right? Dissolve the mind and the pulsation also stops. See, that energy merges back, right, into the source, cannot produce anything else anymore, right? And then, in the same place from where the pulsation is felt, the blissfulness of the absolute, of the current, the force, or whatever it is, which is more subtle, right, than even the pulsations. I was talking to see us now, okay? This is why it's so difficult to realize, because we get distracted so easily with something mental or physical, right? So the mind is more subtle than the body, right? The intellect is more subtle than the mind. This is why it's so difficult to catch oneself trying to discriminate between this thought and that thought, this idea and that idea, my idea and someone else's idea, this guru, that guru, right? So the intellect is subtle than ideas, thoughts. The ego is more subtle than the intellect, right? The I amness is more subtle than the ego. Right? The pulsation is more subtle than the I amness, and the absolute is super, super, super subtle. This is why it is so subtle that it cannot be perceived by anybody. So it reveals itself to itself. There is nothing there that can realize it. Right? So this Kundalini thing, this energy thing, okay, Ramana described it as the fire that burns a piece of camphor, right? You know this arati, right? The ritual in India, they put in a copper thing, peel of camphor, they put fire, and right?
Yep.
So it's the same thing. See, when the fire burns completely the camphor, the fire also disappears, right? So the camphor is the ego. When that energy burns the ego, so that energy also settles down and merges back into its source. So it doesn't go from the Muladhara chakra to the top, from the root to the top, and then goes higher to a higher anything. It's come from the heart, right? And it goes down and all this, right? It goes here and goes down and merges, dissolves there. Then there's a complete chill out of, right? It's a total relaxation. Everything comes to an end.
Yeah.
Now, all that happens if you simply become still. So all what the people want to achieve by the means of effort happens effortlessly, see, in the absence of one's effort. So we call it effort because we can't be still. And then the effort is to consciously either surrender or to inquire. This is what is called effort or sadhana or practice. Now, definitely, there will be a physical transformation from the very core, okay? But it's not out of volition. It's not something like a yogi will do when I will make this body to become like this or like that. It happens by itself.
Mm.
The physical appearance may change. I experience that when I see myself and say, well, my inside out is like a different thing now.
Mm.
It's very subtle. You only can see it because you know your face and your body more than anybody else, inside out. But if you bother to pay attention to it, but this is what is in fashion now, right? This is what the new age is all about, right? Let's go and create a better world. What do you mean by better world? Define better world. Is the world that pleases you? A world that matches with your ideas. Yeah. A world kind of like a permanent Burning Man festival or something, right? Just people doing fires and carnival and stuff. This is exactly. And then these people that wants to make a better world are the problem because now they become the dictators, right?
Yeah.
So I want a world that suits me, right?
That's right.
So it still is about me. From the absolute point of view, if the self alone is, what world are we talking about? Right?
Mhm.
Now, all these are agitations of the characteristic of prakriti, of nature. See the disturbance, right, of nature. So we must stop disturbing nature and leave it alone. Look what happened during the pandemic, right?
Yes.
That somehow nature was, even the Ganges, okay, started to clean up. Nobody was cleaning the Ganges. It's a filthy river. It still is holy, but it's quite dirty. And many other places also begins to renew themselves, right?
Yeah. Because we stopped pounding it all.
Because we stopped hanging around as the idiots that we are.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, because no, honestly, right? Not to blame somebody and put someone else. This is why they say that the sages produce an impact, a huge impact in the surroundings, just by their mere presence. They may not even be aware of that phenomenon taking place.
Mm.
This is why when you go, the sage is not a different power place than Arunachala or Kailash mountain or whatever, right? There's a emanation there, right? It's like a vibration there that as soon when you get close to that, I don't know. This is what happened to me. I went only to two places, Tiruvannamalai and Rishikesh, and somehow being there was, you don't have to do anything. If your mind is pure in a way that you don't want anything.
Yeah.
That is by the grace of that power, vibration, force, or whatever you like to call it, that the ego is dissolved. So the effort is to be still, right? But how can you call that effort?
Mhm.
To be still and to make an effort is like a contradiction, right? So actual effort is consciously look for the source of the mind or see what the mind is. Otherwise, mind keeps quiet. Me keeps quiet. Caesar keeps quiet. And then Caesar disappears, meaning the idea of being Caesar, right? And there is only I amness. The I amness doesn't think I am the body. And then the body is no longer the subject and you are the object. The I amness is the subject and the world is the object, but they are not seen as different, right? This is non-differentiation, this is samadhi.
Mm.
And samadhi is sine qua non, prerequisite, don't care what New Age says, for the absolute to reveal itself. The absolute have no choice but to reveal itself, because has been already this cover, right? The cover, the veil has been removed, which is the ego, thoughts, mind. No choice. See, if you remove the curtain, right? But it's behind the curtain, it has no choice. No, it reveals itself because there's no curtain any longer that covers it.
Right.
This is why it says it's nothing. The self is nothing that can be attained anew, right? It's always there, and it is oneself. You just have to remove what is covered in it. Which is basically all what I want and don't want, all what I know, right? Or want to know, or don't want to know. See?
Mhm.
This is why it's compared with a candle that it is. There is no, it's a room, no wind entering the room, and the candle is steady. Right? If you open the window, the candle begins to flicker, right? So the candle represents the I am. Right? When this I am is completely still, and even the sages, there's nothing wrong with any of that stuff, yoga, but the sages, even themselves, perform these practices. They don't need it. It's just for the sake of the seekers, somehow to give an example or to encourage them or to,
Yeah.
And Ramana Singh used to sing bhajans, right? Even to himself. Even those bhajans that were sing using his name, he will sing, he will sing, Ramana, like a child.
Yeah.
Anybody says, what's wrong with you? You say, okay, who cares? Everybody call me by any name. Why couldn't I call my name myself? Who cares? You just keep quiet. I'll do whatever I want.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's my favorite thing to talk about. I appreciate it.
No, it's fine. The mind has to be saturated with this knowledge, see? So I cannot think about anything else. That's part of the game, right? The mind is interested. That's fine. It's a trick. It's a hook. It's a trap, right?
Yes. Yeah. True.
Nowadays, there's a famous yogi now in India. I don't want to name the name, right? Okay, so and all that is you want to do this. Basically, like a magician, right? It's like a you want to do this, you do that. You do this in your house and do it. It costs oh shit, it's so much, or so much. And if you want to do the training course with him, it's $10,000.
Oh wow.
Oh wow, yeah. For foreigners, for Indians are cheaper. Indians are very good business people, I'm telling you.
Absolutely.
They know how to take advantage of the West. They're good business. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, if you're a good businessman, in Venezuela we say everybody a fool goes out of his house. The one that caught him first, it belongs to him. Todos los días sale un pendejo para la calle que lo agarres de él. Yeah? Nothing wrong with you. You're a good businessman, so whatever, right? But
and people are looking for it.
yeah, people buy that. That's the whole point. Because it is for me, see, because it's all about a personal individual achievement, right?
Yes.
And that pleases me, that pleases the ego, right? So there is no difference what pleases the ego, whether it is to purify my body or to get high on heroin. It still pleases me, right?
Yeah.
I mean, for sure, there's nothing wrong with we must look after the body, not be fanatic, but we must, because the better the body is, physical condition, less worry, and it's easy for me to inquire and all that stuff. There's nothing wrong with that.
Because we're not preoccupied with how the body's feeling. Because that's what I learned was reason to do asana was to free the body so you can sit still in meditation.
Yes, there's nothing wrong with it. So it's a problem when the body when becomes an obsession, right?
Yeah.
Everything is okay unless it becomes an obsession. I spoke about it before. I explained what desire actually means. It's not that I want something, I don't want something, right? It's the obsession when I cannot keep that object out of my head, whether I want it or I don't want it, believing that if I get it or if I get rid of it, finally I will be happy, right?
Yeah.
It can be a career, it can be even yogic goals, right? To be able to put my legs around my ears or something, right? And the sense of frustration when I can't and all that, because I'm going to identify myself with that. I'm identifying myself as a stiff guy, right?
Yeah.
And I want to change my identity for a flexible one. See, my identity now is this. This is why I saw these people, even they take selfies, right?
Yeah.
And all that. Put my head, take a picture, see, I can kiss my own bum, I take my phone and I do an Australian kiss to myself. That's my punchline for tonight.
That was a long joke.
As long as it is funny, at least at the end, it compensates the money for the tickets. Yeah. That's the beauty of surrender or inquiry, right?
Mm.
You take I, and everything goes away with it. This is why it's called direct path or royal path, or right?
Mhm, mhm.
At the end, it doesn't matter what you do. At the end, either you inquire or you surrender. Everything else is just some kind of preliminary steps. It's you come, because not everybody can get it right from the beginning, the inquiry. Or the mind is too hectic, right? And it's impossible for them to inquire. Some people are very stubborn and very determined, even when the mind is too hectic, and say, I don't care. If this is this direct path, I will go through whatever, right? And this is the people that begin to have the whole nightmares and subconsciousness view. Oh, my things are getting worse because the mind is not that pure, right?
Mm.
Again, even if spirituality as such, which works, nobody denies its purpose, or, but if it is not done guided, the ego will play with it, right? And will develop spiritual ego, spiritual pride, and right? I'm improving, I'm getting better, more pure. Impurity still is impurity, right? Because it still is one of the gunas, right?
Mhm.
Oh, I have no mind. No mind is still is not, the absolute is beyond no mind. No mind belongs to the yamness. Still is reflection, right? The purest reflection of the absolute, one can say. So,
Gracias.
but for how long you been living in? For how long you been in Australia?
Since 2012, so 11 years.
All right. So you got your papers and everything settled, and
I have permanent residency.
that's Australia's a tough one for that matter.
It is, yeah. But it's a good thing to have.
You have to score points, isn't it? Accumulate points.
Yep. And then the longer you're here, I think as well. Yeah.
I'm very bad on that. Losing points, I always lose the point. Even if I try to make a point, I don't succeed. Terry, how are you doing? Any questions? You're chill out.
Just chilling out. Yeah.
Good.
It's already 20 past 10. I'll let you go to sleep or watch Netflix.
Oh yeah, that's 8 to 8 flight time.
Mm.
It's a funny series trying to say something interesting, but it's called, can't remember the name. It's about a flight that disappeared and reappeared 5 years later and something.
Oh,
The Manifest.
yeah.
It's called The Manifest.
Yeah.
The acting sometimes a little bit silly, but Yesterday we saw the one that once won the Globe, the Jesus. What is it? It's not the Oscar, the other one.
Is that the Mel Gibson one? That one?
No. Emmy, no.
Oh, the Emmy
Oh, that
Awards.
Emmy
Yeah.
or the Grammys
Or something like that.
or the
Everything
Oscars.
and whatever, everything and anytime, all the time. I got this. I say, Nathan, I'm sorry. I can't handle this anymore. You carry on. I go to sleep. All this trying to prove quantum stuff through a comedy. I mean, it was hilarious. But I said, no, I'm done with this story. So, I like to watch crime movies because Nadia freaks out when I keep on telling them my suspiciousness about it. I said, oh, please keep quiet. She said, stop it. Okay, guys, see you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Let me
Yeah.
see. I think today, no, I told you no about the videos. They must be there already. Yeah. 7th of January, part 1 and part 2. At the end is the beginning of our talk. At the end of part 1. Part 2, I think it is the rest of it.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, cool. Hasta la vista.
Baby.
What is it? Oh, it's not working. Will it collapse? No. Oh, Jesus. Oh, no collapse. Fantastic. Are you still there, guys? Can you hear me? Yes? No? Oh, mi devota favorita.